maybe a little bit of wildlife at the same time. Let's see what we can find today. There are a few set stops, but they're mostly trees because obviously trees don't move much throughout the day. Set stops. I've got my little piece of technology here that enables me to point to things. You can see what I'm talking about. Now, on the topic of this tree I'm pointing at, it will be our first brief stop. So guys, this is known as corkwood tree. And it's called corkwood because of the material on the inside of it. It's actually quite soft and spongy, much like what you'd find in the top end of your wine bottles. Cork. Similar material. Now it is a very important tree in this area for two big reasons. For humans as well as one very special animal which I'll get onto shortly. We'll talk human side first. Basically we get a lot of modern day medicine from the leaves of the corkwood tree. So medicines such as heart medication, eye drops, and right down to seasickness pills and lots more in between. Pretty important tree to have around for humans. In fact, you could say that the leaves of the corkwood tree are filled to the brim with the handy drugs that are good for mankind. I'll move it along there to the animal side. There is a picture of one right beside us. The beautiful blue butterfly, known as Ulysses. Basically, this is the host tree for the Ulysses butterfly. The caterpillars will only eat the leaves from it. A few things more about the Ulysses while we're on that topic. Not only are they a very beautiful butterfly to look at when they come flying past, but they can actually be very quick when they want to be. They're one of the fastest butterflies in Australia. They have a top speed of around about the 60-70 kilometres an hour. Ooh, pretty quick when they want to. They can really get up and boogie. Not only that, but they fly extremely erratically. So, yeah. I personally think that erratic flying has got something to do with the drugs they ate as a caterpillar. But of course that is a very bad theory of mine. That part's not true. The rest of it was, I promise. The little duckling's okay at the back? Ah, good stuff. Alright, we will carry on. Otherwise we'll be stuck here talking about butterflies all day, and we came to see the rainforest, so let's do it. So now the sun is starting to finally poke its head out of the clouds. You'll notice up ahead it does get quite dark. Typically in very thick, dense areas of the rainforest, only about 5 to 10% of the sun's light will filter down to the forest floor, which is why many of the trees you'll see today, they are quite tall and skinny. A lot of that foliage is up nice and high, and they're all fighting, battling, and struggling to gather as much of that sunlight as they can possibly get, which does make many of the trees we'll see today fast growing. In fact, a lot faster than your average. There are, though, a few species that differ. They grow quite slow. I'll point out some of those a little bit later, though.
Any crocodiles?
Crocodiles. Got the honest answer?
Yeah.
I'll tell you when we get onto the water.
No. No.
Let's just say that we look like a sardine can to them.
Imagine walking through the bush here and that,
So it is appropriate we can hear the Mamagiri dances in the background. I'm about to show you just how a didgeridoo was made. We all know what the didgeridoo is, don't we? But before that, a very important animal out here in the rainforest, and that's actually the termite. Their main job and duty is to break down all the rotting vegetation that they find on the forest floor, putting all that nutrients back into the soil, which helps the trees remain happy and strong. The trees that they don't eat, that is, and a perfect example is right here beside us. This once was a very tall, very proud black wattle tree. And as you can see, it has been completely gutted, hollowed out by the termites. Now that section there I'm pointing at now, that is literally how didgeridoos were made. You are looking at a didgeridoo. However, a very large didgeridoo, so please do not blow into that thing. Not only will you not make any sound music, but you will look very silly doing so, and believe me, I've tried it many times. We won't call that a didgeridoo, we'll call it a didgeridoo. Trust me on that one. But of course the Aboriginal people would find an appropriate sized branch hollowed out, put some beeswax on one end, and that is the end that you blow on to make the music that we just heard in the background. So a lot of people get termites mixed up with ants. They think that they are related somehow. Believe it or not, termites are more of a closer cousin to the cockroach of all animals. By the way, it is extremely nasty. You wouldn't want either or any of them hanging around your house or home. Speaking of homes, termites need a place to live. That is it right there. No one has a termite mound. The top's been torn off of that thing because either a rodent or an echidna overnight has decided they wanted a meal. They feasted on termites. So folks, what we'll do now, we'll come around the bend, and on the left-hand side of the duck very shortly, you'll see a little freshwater spring, and that flows under the track, goes around the corner, and will eventually lead into the creek system that we'll go into soon. To get to that creek system though, we have to first climb this hill. So yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. We're still purring up the hill. Oh.
Are we gonna make it up the hill?
Run out of electricity.
No, this isn't a Tesla.
Oh.
Not a Cybertruck.
Damn.
Hey.
Well, that'll do it there, guys. Yeah, that's a bit embarrassing. We just ran out of fuel. Now, about that push up the hill.
Yeah. Come on,
No?
get out.
Tough.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Yeah.
I would.
We stopped because of the tree right here beside us. These are known as a Cooper's tree fern. Now, they are a very old species of plant. They actually predate the dinosaurs. Been around for a very long time. Not that one, though, once it came. Before it, of course. You could say it's food for dinosaurs as we look above us, because there is another one towering above. That's why we stopped here, guys, by the way.
That's massive.
I meant to do that on purpose, yeah.
Sure.
Damn.
So, not just food for the dinosaurs, there are sections on these trees that humans can eat as well, and I can point to one right there. You can see the upper section of the trunk, a little balled fist. Known as a fiddlehead. Chop that off, you can boil it, roast it, or even grill it. Tastes very similar to asparagus, which is why we all know the dinosaurs went extinct in the first place.
Yeah.
Too much asparagus in their diet will kill anything. Yeah, another bad theory. Now, these Cooper's tree ferns, though, they do have relatives, and there is one next to the tall one, a little bit to the right, and about head height for us now. That one right there is known as a Rebecca tree fern. We've also got some behind me. Do we have any Rebeccas on board today? No Rebeccas? Now, that's a good thing, because the Rebecca tree fern, just like many Rebeccas that I know, they're very toxic. So, yeah, leave that one alone. They're bad for you. I'm allowed to say that, though. My cousin's Rebecca. She's lovely, by the way. Not all Rebeccas are that bad. These ones definitely are, though. Eat it, you'll find out why. It will make you very ill in the tummy, and more than likely put you into hospital for a little bit of a stay there as well. So, yeah. That goes for many of the plants out here too, guys. Just resist the temptation to reach out and try to eat anything. Some things do look quite yummy, trust me, but I wouldn't do it, just to be on the safe side. If you do pick something wrong and it is bad for you, it can make you quite ill, so leave it to the professionals. Now, let's climb this hill. Maybe. We'll soon find out anyway.
Doesn't even sound like it's running. Yeah. Right there. Very small, very tiny barbed hooks on them. Now those hooks, they can get very sharp. This plant, if you're not careful, will cut your skin, leaving you with a very nasty little paper cut. Yeah, paper cuts normally aren't too bad, I know. However, these ones, especially once you start to sweat, they will sting quite a bit. So we'll leave this one alone, because it also becomes very itchy and very irritable. So definitely a nuisance sort of thing. Keep our distance from it. So we made it to the top of the hill. We'll now go down, and as we do go down, these plants just here in front of us, there's one and there's two. They're known as an epiphyte. Now, epiphyte sounds very similar to epidermis, doesn't it? And of course, we all know epidermis is just a fancy way of saying skin. Now, that's how a lot of people like to compare these plants to. The skin, basically something living on the exterior of something else that's living. Just don't pay attention to that one because it's actually living on a dead tree at the moment. Although it is feeding from above, which is what these plants do. They basically feed off of anything that falls from above, whether they be leaves, sticks, twigs, bird droppings, even dead animals. Whatever lands inside will slowly get composted over a period of time. So during that composting process, it does generate quite a bit of heat. Typically it gets around 20 degrees warmer inside of these plants compared to the outside temperature, which is why you'll notice leading into the cooler months into winter time up here in Corando, you'll see the locals. They all wake up nice and early in the morning, they make a cup of coffee, and they all meet and greet each other around some of these trees. They then hold each other's hands and take turns in giving these plants a cuddle to stay nice and warm.
Sounds like Greenbury.
Gives a new name to the term tree hugger. But no, of course we don't do that, guys. I'm just making sure we're all still awake. If you believe that, you'll believe anything I tell you. No, we caught on a long time ago not to do such silly things. We found out what likes to live inside. If you are looking for some creepy, crawling, nasty insects, rats or rodents, or perhaps even the odd snake or python here and there, depending on the size of it, of course, that's one of the better places to start looking. Yeah, definitely keeping our distance just to be on the safe side. Now, individually, they have their own names. The one just beside us, that one there is known as an elkhorn tree fern. It's actually made up of multiple plants. Each one of those circles or the scales that you see on it is an individual plant, and they all come together like that to form a larger unit. This one, though, is a staghorn tree fern, and these are typically found a little bit further to the south than in this area, so we are lucky to see this one today. It's a very healthy example as well of what one would look like. All right, so we'll keep on moving down the hill now, holding on nice and tight. Might be a bit of a bump or a bounce as we take off. Of course, I'll try to make it as smooth as possible. I'll show you some more of these epiphytes on the way down, if I can get it started. There we go. No, we don't. All right.
Harry, are you still gaming or what?
This is not part of the tour, this one.
Let it roll down the bottom.
Hey, roll started.
No, you don't want to be doing that in these things.
Flood it down.
It's like, word.
You've got air in the fuel line. Yeah, my car runs still.
Just.
Don't turn it off again.
So there we go. All right, so holding on, guys.
Hey, going under.
Gee, so some of the other epiphytes we'll encounter. There's an orchid right beside us, known as a king orchid. Beautiful flower on them too, guys. Very downside to the flower because we have to wait so long to see it. It's about a 2 to 3 year wait in between flowering. There's another one. It is worth the wait though, folks, because when they do flower, there'll be a beautiful white flowers growing off of a vine that grows out of the plant itself. Lots of them too. Beside us, up the tall tree, right up towards the middle there, there's another elkhorn tree fern, typically where they prefer to live out in the wild. The one in front though, that's a little bird's nest tree fern. Now that one wraps around that tree trunk, helping it gather as much food as it can eat. Alrighty guys, so as we can see, the track, it ends here. So that is the end of the tour. It's only a very short walk back to the platform, I promise. Now you're looking at those guys down there, they paid for the bonus tour. No, I'll give you the bonus tour as well, yeah. To do that though, we need to turn this duck around. We've somehow got to magically point it to go down the hill. This is a very tricky manoeuvre for the ducks, they don't turn all that well. So get ready for what's technically and lovingly referred to as a 17-point turn.
Yeah, in Austin House.
Bear with me. I'll back up, position myself a little bit better, go down the hill.
We're stuck between those walls.
So I don't have any mirrors, cameras or reversing sensors, so please let me know when I'm about to hit something behind me.
Oi.
I think that'll do it. Alright, so I won't be turning this off. While we are here though, we'll talk about a very slow growing tree found in this area. It is right beside us. The North Queensland fan palm. Now when I say slow, I really do mean it. That little one down there, that is actually 45 odd years old. Been here longer than Rainforest Station has been a thing. The one just next to it is double the height, so you can pretty much double the age. That one's around 80 years old, which is the age of these army ducks, as it shows. But that is nothing compared to this bad boy. Towering above the others, that one's around about the 200-year-old mark, folks, which is coincidentally the age that I felt this morning when my alarm clock woke me up. However, that is a story for another time. So, slow growing tree, how do they get the sunlight they need to help them grow? Little spoiler alert, it is to do with those leaves. They're very large, aren't they, compared to anything else that surrounds it? Pretty much acting like a solar panel, absorbing what little sunlight reaches down low, not very much remembering, slowly converts that into energy and helps them to grow, albeit very slow of course. It is a very important tree as well in this area. In fact, that leaf is the emblem for the Cairns Regional Council. Every time you see one of the vehicles drive past, one of the buildings or one of the flags flapping in the wind, you will see a picture of one of those leaves on it. Unfortunately though, every time you receive a parking ticket, you'll also see one of those leaves, but I hate to put a negative spin on something that's supposed to be positive. Let's go down this hill. Holding on nice and tight. It is a little bit on the steep side going down, so holding on to cameras, bags and or loved ones, just to be on the safe side. We don't want nothing to fall onto the ground and get broken or damaged. Holding on, let's do it.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Said I want to
Instead of holding on to your head, instead of holding on to hold them out.
So guys, on the way down the hill we have a pretty difficult decision to make, and that is direction. Which way do we go today? There are two pathways in front of us. One is the hill, very safe option, very dry option as well, and if I am brutally honest, it's also a very boring option. Option number two does involve a lot more danger, the possibility of getting wet, but it is a lot more fun, and that involves going into the water. The decision is yours.
Water.
No one ever picks the hill. I must really talk it down.
How wet is it?
Yeah. Alright, so water it is. Now, can everybody on board swim?
Yeah,
Because I can't either. So if we do sink, I'm the first person to get rescued. We're not in the water yet. Okay, crocodiles. I'll let you all in on a little secret. Crocodiles, the freshwater ones, they normally don't like a lot of noise. These ducks, very noisy. So between the army ducks and the fact that the sharks ate all the crocodiles, we're safe, I promise.
Bull sharks.
That's boring.
You want to go swimming with them? There's a couple of big ones in the park over there if you want to go swimming with them.
I want to see them.
The big ones in the park.
Yeah, crocodiles.
Yeah, the big ones in there. There's two big ones.
Oh.
Two big salties. And you got a whole heap of little fishies as well. Okay, water wins, guys, so let's do it. I will be moving a little bit faster from now on, so make sure everybody is holding on.
How do you run? No, you're right.
Peter.
Alrighty, holding on, a little bit bumpy as we enter into the water, folks. I will try to make it as smooth as possible, though.
So is that turn on the propeller or something turn into a boat?
Not quite yet.
That little Mexican kid.
Hey! There's hand warmers at the back.
And here we have it, guys. Oh, I turned it off. I shouldn't have done that. All right. There is one more tree I needed to show everybody, though, before we head on any further. And, of course, that's the camera tree right beside us. We are about to take one of those very cheesy theme park photos. So, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, thumbs up, big wave, big smile. Let's all pretend we're having a good time, all right?
Yeah, right.
It's all for the camera. All right, on the count of 3, we all ready?
Wait. Let me fix that. Nah, joking.
1, 2, and 3. Here we go. It does work. Technology's wonderful when it does decide to work.
Oh, I think I blinked.
You blinked? That's all right. Photoshop. No, guys, that photo will be available for your viewing pleasure, either at Tropical Treats, which is basically where I drop you off, or at the souvenir shop. Just go over to the person behind the counter, let them know that you were on the 2 o'clock duck ride. Sean was the driver. They'll take care of the rest. Just don't feel bad if you don't purchase one. They're normally used for insurance reasons. Let's do a head count to make sure I haven't lost anybody on the tour.
Cool.
Relax though, I haven't lost anybody in over a week now, so you're on
That's
safe hands, I
lucky.
promise. Company record too, by the way. Yeah. Let's get going, shall we?
We might make it 2 weeks then.
Alrighty, so again folks, a little bit bumpy. That'll bring it very smooth and very quickly.
Bounce the phone out of
Oh, that's Coca-Cola. Yeah, that's all one.
Is it still driving? It must be on the
Any moment now we will lose traction at the bottom of the river. That is exactly when I'll engage the prop. There we have it, we are now a boat.
Deadly. Like, please don't turn it off again.
No. None of that. So while we are a boat, afloat, I'll talk a little bit more about these army ducks. So around 22 to 23,000 of these vehicles were produced between 1942 and early 1945. And they were all built in America, in the little Pontiac factory over in Michigan. And they were also built by the ladies. The men that were all off fighting during the war, the ladies stayed behind and basically built everything they'd ever need. Whether it be tanks, planes, bombers, battleships, jeeps, and of course the mighty army duck. What really made these vehicles stand out though was one special function, feature or option, and that was the ability to put a very large air compressor built into the engine up front, giving these vehicles the ability to not only inflate but also deflate the tyres without stopping. That was world first technology as well, guys, and it really became important anytime these vehicles had to go over some nasty terrain, whether it be man-made or natural. And a good example of that would be coral reefs. Normally coral reefs would destroy the wheels and tyres on other amphibious craft, but not the army duck. They would to deflate the tyres, go over the reef with little to no damage done, and once safely across, reflate the tyres without stopping, carrying on with their mission. And that mission was normally troop transport and supply runs, and they were very good at it. In fact, so good they eventually did a lot of double duties. So not only did they ferry across the soldiers and supplies to the shoreline, but quite often on the way back, they would ferry back the wounded soldiers as well, saving countless lives by doing so. This really was an important piece of military equipment. Now, out of all the ducks that were made, just over 500 of them in the early 40s made their way to the Australian Army. Out of that 500 here at Rainforest Station, we actually have 12, making us the largest fleet of army ducks in the Southern Hemisphere. It's also the only fleet of army ducks in the Southern Hemisphere, but we won't go there. Unfortunately, these vehicles are becoming quite rare these days. So what we just turned around in this little lagoon section is actually a dam. that was built onto the existing creek. Way back in the 1950s, there was a lot of farmlands in this area. This is where they got the irrigation. It's also the deepest part on tour as well. Out in the middle there, this to around 10 metres deep. Good place to hide a body. I mean, no. Too late anyway, we left. Folks, we will approach the corkwood tree that's in front of us. From there we'll hug the river line to where the old tree has fallen into the water. From there we'll turn sharp to the right, and that is where the legs are just to the side of us. As the wheels touch the ground again, there might be a bit of a bump or a bounce, guys, so make sure we're all seated comfortably. We'll make for land. And any second we'll touch the ground again. Alright, without stopping, it is time for my 10-minute coffee break, okay? I'll be right back.
I will drive.
No, of course not. We have stopped because of this thing. Locals will know all about it. This is a wait-a-while vine. Now, it is called wait-a-while because if you walk into this darn thing, you will become stuck. You can probably hear it there for yourselves, the sharp hooks on the underside of the branches, as well as the vines or tendrils that grow out of it as well. Those hooks are designed though for something special, to dig in deep and grip on, including with us as well. There is a secret to get out of them though, those hooks, there are many of them, but they're all facing in the same direction, so you could move forward all day and nothing will happen. Try going backwards. That's how you get out of it. But like I said, those hooks are for a reason. They're to latch onto the rainforest that surrounds it to help this plant grow. And that's what they do. These things grow to the very tops of the canopy. Once they get there, they spread everywhere. After they do spread is when they lose all of these center spikes. They'll fall off, and you end up with a piece of cane just like this. Now this cane can be used and harvested for many things. One of them is furniture, known as rattan cane furniture. A lot of chairs, a lot of baskets basically. It's a very flexible material. Now, you can also use this cane for something else. Survival out here in the rainforest. If you ever do become lost or stranded in this area, this will become your best friend. It contains the most important thing in any survival situation.
Water.
Drinkable water. Definitely a lot safer than what's down there. You find this stuff instead hanging from the trees, simply walk up, chop, and then drink straight out of it. The fibres inside of the cane itself will filter the water, making it perfectly safe to drink. Now, this was used for something else a very long time ago now. You would have seen lengths like this in classrooms all around Australia. Yeah, you know where I'm going with that. I normally go whack really loud, but I've got a little baby duckling on board and I don't want to wake her up. So, no whack today. Instead, I'll do a little... That'll do it. Yeah. They called it lawyer cane because whenever the teacher had to lay down the law, this is the tool that they went for. Now, if you were very bad, though, it wouldn't be on the palm. It would actually be on your knuckles. Ouch. So, yeah, that is the nasty wait a while, folks. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
So top speed for the army duck on the land was actually around 85 kilometres an hour. Depending if you had a nice straight bit of road that was angled slightly downhill. The steeper the angle downhill, the faster they would go. In the water, though, it was dramatically reduced. It was down to about the 12 to 15 kilometres an hour, depending on conditions. Not the fastest thing on the water, but nice and smooth, as you would have noticed. Also, the fuel consumption was shocking in the water as well.
I reckon that's a prop. I reckon.
So we've crossed through the spillway now of the dam, so make sure we're all holding on. There are some loose rocks, but we'll get through just nicely. So folks, some of you may have heard of the Barron Waterfall system just in this area. It's not quite the Barron Waterfall, but it is the best I can do with such short notice. The Barron Waterfall, though, is literally about 3 kilometres downstream that way. This creek leads into it, roughly about 200 metres upstream from where the water falls over the edge. Bring me to this plant right beside us. It's actually considered to be the world's most venomous. Doesn't look like much, does it? That is known as stinging tree. And as the name suggests, if you touch it, it will sting you. The best way to describe the plant itself, though, is on the underside of those leaves, hundreds and thousands of microscopic glass needles. And just by touching them, those needles are designed to snap off and then dig their way deep into your skin, which is where they release a fairly nasty neurotoxin or a venom, which feels like getting burnt by acid.
Can you demonstrate for us?
And you can, you volunteers.
You can't do it yourself, is it?
Yeah, you nominated yourself for that one, mate. So yes, burnt by acid while you're getting electrocuted at the same time. Very intense pain, but the scary part about the plant itself is not the sting, but how long this sting can last. Average, a few hours leading into a few months. It's average. Worst case, though, can last years, if not decades, and there are stories of people who were stung more than 30 years ago. They can still feel the effects from it. There is no cure either, so once stung, you're living with it. There are ways, apparently, you can reduce the severity, but I don't normally go into it too much because you'd have to be pretty lucky and fortunate to have with you either wax strips or adhesive tape like duct tape. Basically, upon getting stung, whack it on, rip it off as soon as you can, trying to get those needles, or as many of them as you can, out before they dig too far into your skin. Once they're there to stay. You still want that demonstration? There are some horror stories of people way back in the day copping a squat next to one of these plants, needing to relieve themselves and looking over at the leaves, thinking to themselves, that would be pretty handy to clean myself up.
Oh no.
Yes, it was a mistake only made once.
She still regrets it today. Yeah, never done it again.
Alrighty, we'll start to climb the hill now, guys, holding on.
So bananas are a big part of life up here. In fact, I believe it's around 90% of all bananas grown in Australia come from this region. There's some of them there growing now. The birds are eating those ones though. They're just your average everyday yellow variety, the ones that you find at most convenience stores. However, we have a different variant over here. These are known as lady fingers because just like the ladies themselves, apparently, they're a little bit smaller and sweeter. Apparently. Depends on who you talk to though. Now, coming up next, though, is my personal favourite plant on tour. Very important to me, this next one. Without it, I would not be here right now. And that is this thing right here beside us. Without this plant, I could not be here doing this. And say hello to coffee. That's where we get our coffee from. Yep. But here we are, folks. We have arrived back to the platform safe and sound. Now, it has been a pleasure to have you all aboard today. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, had a good time, and who knows, maybe, just maybe even learned something new. The bad jokes, though, they were terrible, weren't they? Yeah, it's a good thing they're free of charge. No additional costs, no, I saved everybody a bit of money too. But again, guys, thanks for coming out today. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your stay, the rest of your tours, and most importantly, the rest of your holidays up here in Far North Queensland. Thanks again. Hope to see you all again real soon. Thank you again. Pleasure. What's your